10 minutes of non-stop news, your no-wait forecast, and leadoff sports. The Heartland's most watched newscast, 10 at 10, starts now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Paul Baltus. Jamie has tonight off. Fans are calling it the biggest game in years, an old rivalry with a conference title on the line. But while the Nebraska-Oklahoma football game is the big game, Brian New found out it's not the only game.
It's not Nebraska and Oklahoma. It's not even football.
It's hockey.
But for a few sports fans, a select few, this is tonight's big game.
I'd rather be here than watch the Huskers.
For Roger Addison, it's because he's a hockey fanatic.
Hockey's the best, despite the Huskers.
Others have their reasons.
Well, number one, because we're K-State fans.
But amongst the crowd, there's plenty who bleed Husker red. They just figured a way to enjoy the best of both sports.
I came here knowing I'd get the updates, so that's why I came here.
Plus, Shad Herbeck says he'll watch the Husker game later tonight.
I'm taping it at home, so as soon as I get done here, I can go back home and watch it.
Other Husker fans wanting more immediate highlights brought along a radio.
It's wearing my old pocket Walkman right here. I'm just going to listen to the Husker game on the radio and take in hockey.
Mike McKay says while the Huskers may be the favorite team in town, they're not the only team.
I'm all behind the Huskers, too, but, you know, we got to sponsor Omaha Knights here, too. They're a great hockey team.
Was down, but that's been the trend when the team goes head-to-head with a Husker football game. Currently, the Knights rank second to last in the league in attendance, but team officials say in years past, attendance has gone up once the football season ends. Reporting live, Brian New, Channel 6 News.
Well, let's check in now with John Chapman in Leadoff Sports for the latest on that other game. John?
The Huskers and the Sooners still going at it for the Big 12 title down in Kansas City. Score right now. Sooners 20. Is it 20, Merlin? Yeah, 20. And Nebraska only has 7 points. Zach Taylor throwing a touchdown pass in the second quarter that kept Nebraska in the ball game. The winner here gets the BCS bid to the Fiesta Bowl. Later in the show, highlights from the Husker volleyball team and other football games from around the country. Now let's check in with meteorologist Jeff Jensen with our no-wait precision forecast.
Something seems kind of backwards in this newscast, don't you think, John? Sunshine at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning for the worship services around the area. A bracing 6 degrees. That'll be where we start our day off. We'll keep lots of sunshine in the forecast. Our neighborhoods will shape up like this. 22 for high. That's it in the Orchard Park neighborhood. North Side and Council Bluffs, 22. 23 down in Mockingbird Hills and out in the Willow Wood neighborhood as well. Warmer temperatures are on the way. I'll show them to you, Paul, coming up in the extended outlook in just a few minutes.
We'll look forward to it. Thank you, Jeff. Well, it's not even officially winter yet, but there is a huge mess left behind by the first big snowstorm of this winter season. In St. Louis, thousands of people still without power. The governor there declared it a disaster area and called the National Guard in to help. The fallout stretches north to Chicago, where after being stuck at the airport for 2 days, some people are finally able to fly home, but others still waiting.
They cancel, and then they canceled the 4:30 flight as we were standing there.
We're going home, going back to England on Monday morning. So we've got 1 full day left now. So it's a bit of a disaster.
Several people were trapped in their cars when the canopy of the St. Louis gas station collapsed under the weight of the ice and snow on top. They all got out okay. Only one person had minor injuries. New developments tonight in the search for missing TV anchor Jody Huisentrup. She was the morning anchor at KIMT television in Mason City, Iowa. She disappeared before work in 1995 and has not been seen since. Investigators in Mason City say they're checking out a new lead. They say a woman who claims to have knowledge of Huisentrup's fate has come forward. Police say the woman is not from Iowa and talked to her local police. Iowa State troopers and Mason City officers are still trying to get into contact with her. The man shot and killed by New York City police the morning of his wedding was laid to rest today. The Reverend Al Sharpton led the procession from the funeral home to the cemetery. At the same time Sean Bell was buried, a New York City Black Panthers group was protesting at the site of the shooting. Bell and 2 others were shot last Saturday morning after leaving a bachelor party. Police fired more than 50 shots. The city says they are still investigating the shooting. Nebraska Attorney General John Bruning is suing a man who founded 2 war museums in Nebraska. Bruning says Kyle Kopicki preyed on the patriotism and emotions of Nebraska veterans, and he, quote, defrauded veterans, local governments, and private individuals. Kopitke convinced the town of Nelson to support the museum, but it never opened. Bruning says Kopitke has made the same pitch in other towns in Nebraska and also in Hawaii. He wants them to pay fines to the towns of Nelson, Oxford, and Edgar. A new push across Nebraska to catch more drunk drivers. A $180,000 federal grant will help 35 Nebraska law enforcement agencies pay for sobriety checkpoints and extra patrols this month. They're again calling the program "You Drink, You Drive, You Lose." An American soldier with roots in Omaha was killed in Iraq this week. Staff Sergeant Jeremy Mulhare was hit by an explosion near Taji, Iraq on Thursday. He went to school in Omaha and still has relatives here. Sergeant Mulhare was in his second tour of duty in Iraq. His family says he was very proud to serve in the U.S. Army. The president says he is willing to get input from both political parties on the future of policy in Iraq, but says withdrawing U.S. troops still is not an option. After meeting this week with Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, President Bush says he will not give up on the Iraqi leader. Although the president won't support a troop withdrawal, the Iraq Study Group is expected to come out with a report this week suggesting just that. But one voice, potential presidential candidate John McCain, is calling for a troop increase.
In war, my dear friends, there's no such thing as compromise. You either win or you lose.
The New York Times reports Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld sent the White House a classified memo 2 days before he resigned, suggesting the war wasn't working and discussing the possibility of modest withdrawals and a firm deadline. Fidel Castro was a no-show at the annual Cuban military parade today. His brother, acting President Raul Castro, stood in his place. Today's parade marked the 50th anniversary of Cuba's communist revolution and commemorated Fidel Castro's 80th birthday. In his speech, Raul Castro said Cuba is ready to negotiate with the U.S. over long-standing problems. The U.S. State Department responded, saying Cuba must first make strides toward democracy before there are any negotiations.
Temperatures should be even colder tomorrow before a warm-up begins. I'll show you that warm-up after the break.
With live, local, breaking news where you live. This is 6 News with Jamie McCutcheon. Paul Baltus. Your precision forecast with meteorologist Jeff Jensen. And sports with John Chapman.